All right, folks, what is going on? This is Brandon here with Low T Nation. I just want to jump on here for a quick little Q&A regarding testosterone, regarding peptides, the ED, weight loss, whatever you guys want to chat about. Just let me know, man. We're happy to start talking about it. So, one of the questions that we got last night in our from TikTok was a guy asked me to make a video on Trimix. And if you guys don't know about Trimix, it is a really awesome ED med. It's fantastic because it actually works on severe diabetics, guys with like Peyronie's disease, guys with like penile fractures. It works with guys that have had nicked nerves during prostatectomies. It even works on guys in wheelchairs, like full paraplegics and quadriplegics can have sex again with this stuff. It's a combination of phentolamine, prostaglandin, and papaverine, and it is a penile injection, right? It's no joke when it comes to that, but it's the best drug on the planet if you're dealing with severe ED. It is an absolute godsend for guys that need that. The tricks to doing this, guys, is you always start very, very, very low with this stuff. There's a full myriad of strengths, right? Like it's a full, like huge spectrum of strengths from a recreational type dose up to a full-blown dose. And I promise you right now, if you take a mid-range dose when you just need like a weak introductory dose, you are going to have a priapism, priapism and its erection that won't go away. And you're going to end up at the ER. Ask anybody that works at an ER. They see these things like every weekend. Typically Trimix is involved, and it's a big deal. So you got to start low, go slow with this stuff. Never use it more than like once in 24 hours. The manufacturers all recommend not using it more than something like 3 times a week or 4 times a week max. And the real get out of jail free card is always have an injectable phenylephrine as well. They say take Sudafed. Well, there's like 5 different types of Sudafed. The Sudafed that works is Sudafed PE, and that PE stands for phenylephrine, but you can also inject the phenylephrine. So we send a bottle of phenylephrine with every bottle of Trimix from our clinic, and we tell these guys, if you run into a priapism with this stuff, just inject 0.2 into the erection, 0.2 mLs of the actual the phenylephrine into the erection, and boom, your problems are solved, right? So so let me catch back up with a couple of these. Jay Campbell asked, what if I did TRT for a couple months, then stopped for a while? I don't want to be on it for life. Well, if you don't need it, don't take it, right? Pretty simple. If you do need it, then you should be on it for life. And that's our philosophy, right? So we evaluate, 3, 4, 5 guys a day. Like, my nurse practitioners to have 3 to 4 to 5 initial consults a day. And that's one of our philosophical lines in the sand is like, dude, if you don't need it, you don't get it, right? You got to have a medical necessity if you're going to get it from a legitimate clinic. But also, this is what guys don't understand, man. If you're going to be on testosterone just to get the muscle gains, just to kind of, add a little muscle, and then you jump off the testosterone, you're going to lose most of the muscle. Not always and not all of it, but you're going to lose most of it, right? So that it's kind of a futile effort unless you're really just trying to, put on a couple pounds just for, you're getting married or, you're going to the beach or whatever. Still not the best idea because you can interfere with testicular health while you're doing this. So every patient of ours, we evaluate them medically. We make sure they have what we call medical necessity. And that means there is something that we're treating there, right? There's a symptom of low T that we're treating. And they also, every single patient gets something called N-clomifene. It's not Clomid, it's like Clomid's little brother, much shorter half-life, but it keeps the testicular health in play and in check. So, but this is the deal, guys. If you have low testosterone, is correlated with all major chronic diseases, heart disease, dementia, Alzheimer's, weak bones when you get older, diabetes, you name it, right? And so, if you have low T, man, don't predispose yourself to that, right? It's crazy. Don't do it. So if you have low testosterone, get the treatment and stay on it for as long as you can. I'm going to be on testosterone for the rest of my life, and that's going to allow me to run, circles around my peer group when I'm in my 80s, right? Because my bones are going to be strong. I'm going to be strong. My brain's going to be strong. And testosterone, when it goes away, it's hard to stay strong in all those areas. So, all right. Hope that answered your question. Total test 285, free test 19. You're probably, that's nanograms per deciliter. Yeah, that's low, man. That's a 1.9 on our scale for that free testosterone. That's horrifically low, you know, so definitely get you some testosterone, man. And at those levels, don't come off. I mean, you know, that's not medical advice. That's just like that's what I would tell my buddy, you know, I mean, hey man, like that level is going to cause you problems down the road. So, Daniel asked, he says, how do I lose belly fat? I'm on 200 milligrams a week. Reduce calories. That's the end of the game, right? Now you can reduce the amount of calories. You have to reduce the amount of calories that you net every day, right? So you can eat less, right? You can burn more calories, but at the end of the day, your energy balance has to be in a negative state in order to burn fat. And it's, you know, it's just that simple, man. We did a TikTok yesterday on this. There was a new guy. Let me pull his name up. I've already dropped. No, it was Troy McGinnis. He's the guy that just did McDonald's for 100 days. Lost weight. This guy literally lost like 40 or 50 pounds. His cholesterol dropped, his blood pressure dropped, all of his inflammatory markers went down. It's the best shape he's been in a long time, and literally just ate McDonald's 100 straight days. Where you guys remember the Super Size Me guy, his name was Morgan Spurlock from a few years ago. He ate McDonald's for 30 days and gained 24 pounds, and literally his doctor pulled him off the experiment because he's like, dude, this is the worst I've ever seen anybody get in 30 days. And so they're eating the same shit, right? Eating the same terrible nutritional quality food. The only difference was calories. That's the only difference, right? So this guy was eating 3 half meals a day, Troy was, where Morgan was supersizing everything, getting the sugar-filled Coke, extra large fries, and he was eating his entire burger at every meal, right? So where Troy was at like 1,500 calories a day, the other guy was probably at 4,000, 5,000 calories a day. And, you know, same food, just in different quantities. So just cut the calories, lift weights. When you lift weights, man, your BMR increases tremendously because your body's so busy with the protein synthesis necessary for hypertrophy, and you're burning a lot of calories doing that as well. You can do total blood donations for dropping hematocrit. You can do Power Red. You know, just keep in mind every pint of just a normal donation that you give is going to drop your hematocrit by about 3 points. And also, if you are on that scale of hemochromatosis where you have to do this quite often, make sure you watch your iron levels. There's a test called the TIBC. It's a total iron binding capacity test. Make sure to get that because you can check your ferritin levels and make sure your ferritin stores and your iron levels are staying intact, because that's where all your iron stays, right? It's in your red blood. And every time you give blood, you basically recycle your entire body's worth of blood, right? It's a long story, but think about this. Hematocrit is the percentage of total blood volume that is comprised of red blood cells, right? So if you just take a pint out, you didn't change that percentage, you just reduced the overall volume. However, that percentage drops. Like, how is that? It's literally your body goes, oh shit, I just lost some blood, and it doesn't know where it went. So it sends out this apoptotic signal that literally recycles your body's worth of blood over the course of like 7 to 10 days. And you recycle a lot of your iron when you do that, right? So make sure you're keeping your iron stores intact when you're doing this. So is 200 a week low? Not for therapeutic doses. It's a good question, because when you're on the internet, man, you just see guys taking a full gram, and so many guys are, you know, taking 250 twice a week. From a therapeutic perspective, 200 milligrams is just about all you're going to need to be physiologically appropriate, right? And that's optimally physiologically appropriate. So you can skyrocket your testosterone, you will gain muscle, you're going to skyrocket side effects. And all of the main issues involved with doing steroids or way too much testosterone, you're not going to run into them at 200 milligrams, right? 200 milligrams is going to keep most guys at 1,200 or a little lower, you know, somewhere between like 900 and 1,200, something like that. And if that's the case, that's a good dose of testosterone, you know. So, don't go crazy with it. And the other thing too is people think just more testosterone is going to make, or more anabolics, you know, jumping on all the other things, is going to make more muscle, and it doesn't, right? I know so many guys that come to us and they're taking all the shit in the world that they can get their hands on, and they're not getting results. And they'll come to us and they're like, man, what the hell? Like, I don't understand. And I'm like, well, talk about your protein intake, talk about your total calories. Let's talk about your sleep and your stress. What's your recovery look like? You know, what's your volume and your intensity look like? In order to take advantage of those much higher levels of testosterone that these guys are running, like, you know, 500 plus milligrams a week, you got to have all your ducks in a row. You got to be killing it in the gym, sleeping great, making sure your hydration's on point, making sure your macros and total calories are on point. And if you don't do that, you can take all the anabolics or testosterone in the world and you're not going to get the results, right? We have one TikTok that talks about, it's like something like how to spot a steroid user. And I'm like, yeah, go look for the biggest jacked, like vascular, lean, like badass dude in the gym. Yeah, that guy's on I mean, he's on steroids, right? Almost always. You can almost bet that. But what most guys don't get is in that gym, in that same gym, there's 10 or 15 other dudes in there walking around that don't look like him, that are on just as much gear because they're not putting in the work, right? So the work is absolutely critical. You know, before increasing anabolics. And another wild thing, man, is so many people, they start getting their ducks in a row, right? And they're like, okay, you know what? You're right. I'm going to, you know, just drop back down to 200 milligrams, get my body right, get all my markers right, but also sleep, stress, protein, macros, everything, manage recovery better, get more intense, more volume. All of a sudden they get jacked and you're like, there you go, bud. And so, worry about the basics first, right? And then worry about everything else. So, all right, Justin, total T was 109 and free T was 9. Free tested was 353, total too high. So that scale is a 35, the way it's picograms per deciliter. 35 is a little high for most guys. Yep. And so, and it depends, right? High is relative, and so we treat, you know, thousands of patients. So when I talk about something being high, I mean it's high as an average for most guys in our program. There are guys that can pull that number off, no problem, right? Without any side effects. You know, there are the guys whose nipples will shoot through their shirt. They're going to cry themselves to sleep at night. They're going to feel absolutely terrible. They're going to get back knee. Their hair is going to fall out and all these other issues. Keeping that, our goal for that free T number, where yours is a 35.3, our goal is somewhere between 20 and 30. That's where most guys feel just back. They're like, oh my God, I'm 25 again, I'm back, you know. So, and then getting past that, you start introducing side effects to the average guy, you know. So just keep that in mind. So another thing that we got a couple questions on yesterday was prostate cancer. And I'm gonna start doing these lives, guy, like maybe like, I don't know, 30 minutes, 45 minutes a day. So if you guys don't mind, you know, give us some likes. I want this information to get out there because so many guys are just killing their bodies. They're making bad decisions. And also they're propagating bullshit on TikTok and on the internet that makes other guys make bad decisions with their bodies. So we're really trying to get out there and just, you know, share some common sense knowledge. There's just too much like just bro science and BS out there, and guys are literally taking way too many chances. Man, we had blood work come in on it's actually a consulting client of mine. I teach doctors how to actually do HRT and weight loss and ED and implement it into their clinics and make some cash and be able to offer additional services to their clientele. And one of the doctors that I was starting with, he was getting advice from this knucklehead at the gym, but he was a professional bodybuilder. So the doctor was like, man, you know, maybe I should listen to this guy. Well, his testosterone was through the roof. He was having severe estrogenic issues. His back was broken out completely. But what was even worse, he had him on Cytomel. His T3 was the highest I've ever seen. And he had him on clenbuterol at the same time with the highest T3 I've ever seen. And that is an absolute recipe for a heart attack. And when I showed the doctor his labs, he was like flabbergasted, right? So even if a doctor can make those bad decisions, right, you know, it's easy for, you know, guys like you guys and us to make the same based on all the misinformation. So anything that you guys can do, you know, for the algorithm to help put our information out there, we'd greatly appreciate it. So if you could like our videos and share it. I'm not trying to be like, you know, I don't make any money on any of these things. None of this stuff is monetized. I just want to be able to help these guys make the right decisions. But back to the prostate cancer thing, we get a lot of questions about prostate cancer. And years ago, like, you know, 50 years ago or something like that, there were some studies done that showed that if a guy had prostate cancer and you chemically castrated that guy, the cancer tumor would remit. And so they're like, oh, testosterone's causing cancer. Well, it doesn't. That's a very, very loose correlation, and with no consideration for causation whatsoever. Testosterone has never caused prostate cancer ever once in anybody. And think about it, if it did, a bunch of 25-year-old dudes would be running around with prostate cancer, right? They don't. You don't get prostate cancer till you're much older. And then, that's when your hormones are going. Well, they found out recently that you can actually remit prostate cancer with very high levels of testosterone as well. Now, we can't do that clinically. It's just not accepted in medicine yet, but it will be very, very soon. And a company called BioT, which is a female pellet, they're primarily a female testosterone pellet company. They've also recently done an enormous study with 100,000 women, and they showed that women, if you keep their levels above a 150, it cuts their breast cancer incidence in half. That's crazy, man. 1 out of 7, 1 out of 8 women get breast cancer, and when you can make that like 1 out of 15, that is so profound, right? Like, how many lives is that going to change? So yeah, guys, don't worry about prostate cancer at all with testosterone. So, and they've also proved, I don't ever talk about opinions in this. We only regurgitate what the actual literature says. But another thing is, guys that have the lowest levels of testosterone always have the most aggressive forms of prostate cancer as well. Guys that have healthier levels of testosterone throughout their life typically don't get prostate cancer, and if they do, it's a much less aggressive form, and the outcomes are typically better. So that's one thing that that is a big deal. So another thing that comes up on here all the time, and man, this starts fucking wars, is anastrozole use. And so everybody wants an easy rule, right? And do we use it? Yes, we use it. Oh, you're stupid. You use anastrozole. Or do you not use it? No, we never use it. Well, I think that's stupid too. You don't want any hard and fast lines in the sand. The reality is some guys need it, right? Now, not most. This is where clinics that adhere to one or the other, they get in trouble, because there's just so many different guys out there, right? And if you give the same amount of testosterone to 5 guys, their estrogen is going to come in at 5 different places. And also, that doesn't have any effect on where his natural estrogen optimal point is either, right? So guys are going to come back all over the place because they aromatase at different levels. But then some guys, wherever they aromatase to isn't enough estrogen for them. Some guys it's the sweet spot, and some guys it's way too much. So we never give anastrozole to guys unless they're exhibiting estrogenic symptoms, right? They're bad water retention, erection issues. Typically the erection issues are on the lower side, right? But when guys get nipple tenderness, when they get temperature issues like temperature regulation issues and water retention and emotional issues, that's typically estrogenic, right? And we give those guys anastrozole, and just like that, they feel better most of the time. So I argue with these clinics all the time. I'm like, look, man, don't draw a hard and fast philosophical line in the sand when you can see that it works sometimes. Just say, hey, sometimes when necessary, we try this and it usually works. And if it doesn't, we take the anastrozole back out of play. Also keep in mind that anastrozole definitely can cause an increase in blood pressure. So if you guys have ever jumped on testosterone and you had anastrozole as part of your protocol and your blood pressure went up, it's not the testosterone. Testosterone doesn't cause increases in blood pressure. Again, 25-year-olds and 20-year-olds would have high blood pressure if that was the case. Guys, their blood pressure would increase when they hit puberty, and that's not the case. So can you explain what Anavar is? Yeah, Anavar is a DHT-based anabolic steroid. I don't like it because of what it does to your lipid panel. I was talking about one of these doctors the other day that came in, and his testosterone, or excuse me, he was on all these anabolics. He was on Anavar also, and you want your LDL. So with cholesterol, LDL, think of it as lethal, and HDL, think of it as healthy, right? As you want these as close to 1-to-1 as you can get, but you can have up to like 3 times as much bad cholesterol as good cholesterol and still be fine, right? This guy had 27 times the amount of bad cholesterol that he had good cholesterol. And if he naturally had the tendency for any atherosclerosis, he was setting that environment up perfectly. Now, Anavar is it's a pretty anabolic drug, right? It's not very androgenic. It is anabolic, and it helps guys cut weight and, retain some muscle. But I'd much rather, if you're going to take something, I'd much rather take, a lower dose nandrolone or something along those lines, just to mitigate the side effects tremendously. So, thoughts on Prime Body? I don't know about those guys. I know they're not as good as that company called Low T Nation, though. That company's awesome. All right. Oh, thank you, man. I appreciate the compliment. We're trying. All right. Well, this guy wants to go live with me. Let's see what this looks like. Come on. All right. We'll see if he comes. All right. Any other questions, guys? We do a lot of work with Semiglutide these days. We're killing it with that drug. It is a phenomenal weight loss drug. Phenomenal. Okay. When done right. Now, if you just give it to people, we give them B12 too to mitigate those early side effects of like GI upset. And we also make sure that they increment very slowly, right? When you guys go fast, it's a big deal, right? They're going to shut their GI system completely down. That's where gallbladder and pancreatic issues come into play. And also they don't eat at all. So what happens? Their metabolism shuts down. They lose lean body mass. Their hunger hormone called ghrelin starts to go through the roof. Leptin, the satiety hormone, starts to go away. And typically that hormonal dysregulation can last as long as your diet did. So if you were on semaglutide in a crazy deficit, right, for 2 months, that hormonal dysregulation is going to stay like that for 2 months after you start to refeed. But the issue is you've lost metabolism, you've lost lean muscle, which actually drops your BMR more, and you're still hungry and you're never satiated when you start eating. That's what the body is literally programmed to do, right? Back in the day, man, it was seasonal. And when we were cavemen, we lost all our muscle, and we lost all of our fat stores in the winter, and then all of a sudden we had to be programmed to refeed as fast as we can, because guess what? The next winter is coming. It's how bears still work, right? It's the same thing, and so you'll hear a lot of bad things about semaglutide, but it is an absolute wonder drug when you couple it with behavior change and lifestyle modification to make sure that this weight loss protocol sticks after they've done it. Okay, so what's my opinion on gels? Gels are terrible if they are commercially bought. So Axiron, AndroGel, they're so subclinically diagnosed. There's just a tiny amount of testosterone in them. You can't get your levels up to where you need to be with those. However, if you get a compounded gel or a compounded cream, they're great because your doctor can put as much testosterone in that as he wants, right, when he orders it from the pharmacy. So you can drive your testosterone levels up to an optimal spot with those. So if you're going to use a gel, the other thing too is to be as optimal as possible, because that stuff falls out of your system in like 16, 17 hours. For full optimization, do it twice a day, right? Because you don't want to rob yourself of 6, 7, 8 hours of no testosterone. And it's typically going to be when you sleep, because most people put it on during the day. You want that testosterone as much as you can get. Is gynecomastia related to testosterone? Absolutely. Again, I was saying earlier, well, that's not related because of teenagers would have it. Well, teenagers get gynecomastia all the time, right? Like boys, when they hit puberty, they get those weird nipples. Girls actually grow breasts, right, from estrogen. Well, because the male body doesn't make much estrogen outright, right? Our testicles make about 10% of all the estrogen that we have. We convert it from an aromatase enzyme. And aromatase grabs testosterone and converts it into estrogen. So the more testosterone we have, the more that conversion occurs, and the more estrogen we end up with. Guys have different levels of sensitivity to estrogen. And when a guy's super sensitive to it, or he just has an astronomical amount of estrogen, one of the side effects is gynecomastia. So if that's the case, that is a situation where a guy needs to be on an aromatase inhibitor, or he needs to bring his testosterone level down. Well, some guys, in order to have an optimal level of testosterone, right, they end up with way too much estrogen. That is one of the exceptions to the rule, where you put that guy on an AI like Anastrozole and bring that estrogen level down. All right, what is your opinion on peptides? I love them. We have ipamorelin with CJC, 1295, that is a absolute badass growth hormone producing combo. The CJC 1295 is a growth hormone releasing hormone, and it's coupled with ipamorelin, which is something called a somatostatin blocker. So that keeps that growth hormone pulse going for about 4 hours. It is phenomenal. Now, you're wasting your money if you take that and you're not working out. But if you are working out, the increased protein synthesis is just absolutely amazing, and it's lipolytic as well. The only time that I would recommend taking it when you're not working out is if you're struggling with sleep. We actually have several guys that buy that. They spend a lot of money on it in lieu of a much cheaper Ambien option because their sleep quality is just so much better, and they love it. We also have healing peptides like BPC 157. We have sexual peptides like PT 141. Guys, if y'all don't know what PT 141 is, you need to learn, because it's typically given to women. Some guys, it really helps a lot of guys have the best erections they've ever had, but on the female side, it is revolutionizing sex. Women can have twice the orgasms at twice the intensity. Literally, this is not I'm not talking anecdotally. There's research that shows women have twice the orgasms at twice the efficiency, and twice the intensity, and that is phenomenal with the same stimulation, right? So that's pretty badass. But we have tanning peptides, sleeping peptides, we have cognitive boosting peptides. It is absolutely they are rock star drugs, and they're way better than taking these BS pharmaceuticals that have all the side effects. These drugs just stimulate the production of certain chemicals in the body. Like ipamorelin stimulates growth hormone production. Like the tanning peptide we have is called melanotan. It literally stimulates melanin production in the body. So this is way better than just like introducing drugs to treat things that are literally caused by lifestyle, right? And then you have to take more drugs to treat the side effects from the initial drug. Like, man, treat the root cause. So these peptides really help treat the root cause on a lot of things. Also, guys, ulcerative colitis and Crohn's disease is now being treated with an oral BPC 157, and the results are phenomenal. If you guys are dealing with GI issues, check that out. Do some research on it. It is amazing. And so, will we ever lower our prices for TRT? No, man, we've had the same prices for 7 years, right? So we're not these clinics that go up on our prices. We're just, we know our value. We know there are some cheaper alternatives, but we get those guys literally every day because they don't have the service and the compassion and the love and the experience that we have. And also they don't have the technical ability to do some of the things that we have as well. So, and we spend a lot of money on education and some other things. So we do need to, charge a little more than these clinics that just shoot you the meds and they never talk to you and you can't get them on the phone. Like if we did what they did, right, we could charge what they do, but we don't. We offer a service that's pretty much unparalleled out there, and I'm so proud of it, man. If you guys just check our reviews out, you'll see it. I'm just so proud of the reputation that we've been able to generate, and a lot of that is, we have to generate a little more revenue just because we do so many different things in the industry. We help set protocols, we train other doctors, we do a lot of different things. And so, how do you know it's safe and cost-effective way to take peptides? Well, you got to get it so safe. Those are almost two different things, right? Making sure you're doing it right means you're going to pay more than if you just went to one of these peptide places on the internet. But don't take my word for it. Just Google, like peptide third-party potency and sterility testing, and you'll see that most of these, like Blue Sky and some of these, when you test the product, it's not what it says it is. So get it from a legitimate pharmacy, typically through a legitimate clinic, and you're going to be fine. You're going to pay a little more for it, but you will know what you're getting, so make sure you know what you're getting, guys. And so, how long would 2 milligrams of ipamorelin last? Not long. Our 35-day bottle is 15 milligrams, right? So that's like, we give 400 and something micrograms daily. So in 2, that'd be 5 days worth if you're doing it daily. So you want to get a lot more than that. Whew, my dog just scared the shit out of me. All right, happy Friday, and you are so welcome. Absolutely. Brody. UPS guy just made my dog shit in the floor, I think. That was crazy. All right, so ipamorelin, one of the primary rules of it is take a microgram. You need at least a microgram per pound of body weight. All right, so if you weigh 250, you want at least 250. We dose heavily with that because there is a dose-dependent increase. Brody, stop. There's a dose-dependent increase in result up until about 500 micrograms. So we give like 420 micrograms daily, the way it's set up with ours. And so IGF-1 LR3 is a good peptide. Do not use that with DAC. There's something called DAC, is the drug affinity complex. They don't know why this happened yet, and so this is why I say don't take it. A lot of guys take it and they get great results, but there's been 2 studies. They're rat studies, right? But in both of these studies with DAC, they were dosing them pretty heavily, and all the rats died. Like all of them. Like they don't know exactly what happened yet, and so at that point, I had some with DAC in my cabinet, and I was like, nope, I threw it in the trash. I'm not taking any chances with that. So. We do not prescribe oxandrolone, no. And so, Carson Daly. It's better than, guy called me Tom Hanks yesterday. I'll take it. We are located in Georgia. We're licensed in Texas, in Florida, Virginia, North Carolina, Alabama, and we have been waiting on our California license forever, for like a year, but we will be getting California license very, very soon. Another thing about these peptides, guys, is they increase protein synthesis big time, right? And when your body is in a deficit, when you're losing weight, and that protein synthesis mechanism is really shut down in the body. And if you think about it from a caveman perspective, right? If winter has come and you're losing weight, right? The last thing your body wants to do is put more muscle on and increase its caloric demand when you're having those issues, right? Because when you're having those caloric restrictions going on. So typically when you lose fat, you lose muscle, and it's very hard to lose fat and to even just maintain muscle, right? Especially to gain muscle. However, if you're taking ipamorelin, because it turns that protein synthesis switch back on in your body, you can actually do both. And the ipamorelin really helps you with that because it increases protein synthesis and it's lipolytic at the same time. And you can do that at a calorie deficit as long as you get the protein. Now, when you're trying to get this right, is that there's a delicate balancing act because you can't stay in too much of a deficit because your body's going to be catabolizing its own muscle, right? Once it runs out of fat stores, which are easier to convert, it's going to go after the muscle. So you got to stay out of that heavy deficit. But if you can find a pretty good, just below maintenance level for calories and increase your protein tremendously, you can actually put on some muscle and lose some fat at the same time. And it's a real, I love helping guys do that because so many guys are just so frustrated. They're like, fuck, I put all this muscle on and then I go to lean out and I lose all the muscle and I don't know what I'm doing. The ipamorelin makes a profound impact on that. And also it's great for our patients that are on Semiglutide. Again, these things add up and they get really, really expensive, you know, so we don't really push it on people, but when they complain about losing muscle, and they're eating the protein and they're putting, you know, they're doing their resistance training, we'll talk to them about it, and it's a pretty good option for those guys. So again, guys, thank y'all. I appreciate you guys so much. Do me a favor, let's like this stuff a little bit. I want to get this live to, you know, kind of announce itself to a lot more people every day when we start doing it. So like share our videos, you know, comment on them, please. Do anything you can to help us with this algorithm because we're really trying to get rid of all the bro science out there. You know, we've been on YouTube for years. We had a big impact on YouTube and we literally changed bro science a little bit. We've been on YouTube for 7 years and we were one of the more heavily trafficked sites when it comes to good testosterone information. I want to do that on TikTok as well, because I mean, the bro science is now rampant on TikTok and it's killing me. But if I can do anything for you guys, my email address is brandon@lowtnation.com, or you can always email us at info@lowtnation. Woody, it is lowtnation.com. And we're happy to help you guys in any way we can. You know, we're always happy to answer questions. And like I said, guys, you know, show us some love for the algorithm. I appreciate you guys. I'm going to bail for now, but y'all have a good day. See ya.